What is going on, beautiful people? It's your boy Blue, and today we're going to see just how Thrustmaster's classic T16000 joystick compares to one of their latest joysticks, the SimTask Farm Stick. Obviously inspired and made for farming simulators, I know, but hold on. Don't overlook this stick. This could easily be a great flight stick as well. So let's compare. So at a glance, they obviously look very, very similar, but there are definitely some obvious and some not so obvious differences. So that's what I'm gonna show you right now. So this on the left is our Thrustmaster T16000. This is actually the first joystick that I've ever actually bought and used for flight sims specifically. But one of the obvious differences is this one is majorly black, right? It's mostly black, has a few orange accents here. The farm stick is obviously has like a gray base with a black stick. And another obvious difference is we have this massive orange trigger, very space-like, right? On the right here on our farm stick, we don't really have that. We do have these two little click buttons in the trigger position. So the bottom one is actually the one that's by default mapped as a trigger, and the top one is actually used as a mode switch. So you can actually swap between like work mode and driving mode, specifically for farming sim. I'm not sure how much use that would be on any other game. But that's kind of what I want to make a point of today is, is this new stick that's just come out, is it good for more than just farming? Could we use this for flight sim, for spaceship simulation, things like that? So we're going to take a deeper dive at it. Another difference that you may not notice is on the base. The base has actually been flipped around. What do I mean by that? If I turn around this one, you can now see that these lines line up as well as the shape. So they actually flipped around the base to make room for these extra buttons here, and we'll talk about the buttons here in a second. But that's another difference. It's not a big deal. It's really just a design decision, that's all. As well as there's a kind of a thumb, a place for you to rest your thumb here on the 16000, as well as a place to rest your hand on the bottom of the joystick, which we do kind of have that on the farm stick right along the edge, just like that. But either way, they're both ambidextrous, which means you can use it with your right or your left hand. The T16000, you would actually have to take this off and flip it to the other side to make it a left-hand stick, while the farm stick needs no adjustments to use your left hand because it's basically a perfect shape. As far as feel, they're both completely made of plastic. The joystick, the base, the buttons, everything is plastic, except for on the farm stick on here, these are actually rubber buttons, and they feel really nice too, I have to be perfectly honest with you. All the buttons on the base are plastic. Another difference, actually, one thing I was actually surprised about is that on the 16000, it actually has Braille here. I'm not sure you guys can see that on camera, but it actually has Braille there on the base buttons, which I always liked. Thankfully I have my vision and whatnot, but whenever you're not looking at the stick, it's nice to be able to feel exactly where everything is, and I like that about the 16000. But sadly, they did not bring it over to the farm stick. But what they did bring over is the actual Hall effect magnetic sensor they use for the axis, which feels basically the same. I mean, this has been the same since the T16000, the same Hall effects axis that you have on the Warthog joystick, the more expensive one, as well as the Thrustmaster Airbus joysticks have the exact same thing. As you can see here, they feel a little bit different, but I think it comes down to manufacturing. Every joystick I've actually ever used from them has always felt just slightly different than the others. So I can't really comment that, hey, this feels better than the other, when they're basically the same technology. It's just, hey, this one feels a little bit looser and more forgiving than the others. And the reason why I'm not actually comparing this to the Airbus joystick is because the Airbus joystick is more specialized, it's more specific for flight simulators and for what the needs of flight simulators. I think that these two are more diverse and can be used for a lot more things. So continuing with the obvious, again, this over here was designed for tractors, logging, and heavy machinery. That's the way it looks, It has buttons on here that do symbolize buttons that you would see in a modern tractor. And it is plug and play for farming simulators specifically. So when you plug this into your farming simulator, it's gonna be automatically mapped everything you need for all your vehicles. Although you can custom map the buttons as well. On the 16000, you're not gonna get that plug and play feel, but you can still map all these buttons as you want. But the downside of that is that this is really specific for farming sim. So if you bring this joystick into like a Star Citizen or a Microsoft Flight Simulator, DCS World, you are going to have to manually input each of your buttons. But we're gonna get more into the buttons because there's a lot of buttons I want to talk about. The point is you can use this stick for a lot of diverse reasons. And as far as our 16,000 here on the left, there are some games that will automatically have pre-mapped keys, but that's not for every single game. So I'm not gonna say it's plug and play. It's only plug and play for certain games. And because it's been around for so long, you can probably find a free profile online if you just want a really quick button mapping. But as you can see, they're both the pretty much exact same size. So if you already have a T16000, you're wondering, hey, what's the scale of this? It's exactly the same size. It'll fit on any of your mounting plates that you use. It'll fit on your desk very easily, and they both have little mounting holes on the bottom. So if you have any of the special chairs that have those mounts, or if you want to mount it manually to something, like if you're really good at woodworking, you could do that as well. So that leads me to one of the biggest differences that we have with these two sticks, and that is the amount of actual mappable buttons and key bindings. So on the left here, we have our T16000 that has, I believe, 16 mappable buttons. You have 6 on either side. You have 3 up here, plus you have your 8-way hat switch up here, as well as your trigger, and then you have a kind of a throttle here, and you have your obviously your main axis. The throttle I wouldn't really recommend for using as a throttle. It doesn't have much room to give, but hey, if that's all you got, that's all you got. You work with what you have. The farm stick, on the other hand, has 33 mappable buttons, which is crazy. And you can even double that by using like one of these buttons as a shift key, where you can basically create a second option with a combination of keys. So you can really do that however you like. But I mean, by default, you have 33 mappable buttons. That includes a trigger. You have an axis up here, which is a full-on axis, little mini stick, full-on axis up here. You have a thumb wheel. You got 2 rocker switches. You got 6 more buttons down here that are rubber. You have obviously your main axis, and then on the bottom you have just a bunch more buttons. So that's one of the biggest advantages from this specific joystick compared to the others, and even others outside of the Thrustmaster lineup, is just the amount of buttons it has for the price. They're only asking for $30 more for this one than you do for this one, and that's assuming that you don't get it on sale. So for that reason alone, I personally, if I was starting over, if you can get past the farming look to it, this would be a great starter flight sim joystick. So if you don't want this joystick for farming, and you can get past the farming look to it, I think this will be a great stick for flight sim, for space games, for anything you can think of. If you just need more buttons, if you need 33 buttons and you think it's worth the money for that amount of buttons, then this could be a good stick for you. So I think this could be put to a lot of different uses. I'm actually surprised and impressed by the stick itself. Again, it feels the same. There's nothing new there as far as the joystick axis technology there, but you can never have enough buttons in these simulator games that we play. Flight simulators, DCS, space sim, farming sim, trucking sim, anything. You can never have enough buttons, and I think that Thrustmaster actually listened to the community on that note as far as the button. So I personally think that this is honestly a major upgrade from the T16000. Now, maybe you already have a 16,000. You're considering getting a second joystick as a dual joystick setup. Well, you don't have to throw away your T16000. Keep your old joystick and add this on as a second joystick to your setup. Or maybe you do want to replace it. Maybe your old one's getting old and worn out, whatever it may be. I think this is a good option for the price for sure. And sadly, neither of these are Xbox or console compatible. I was really surprised they didn't release this one, a modern joystick, without making it Xbox compatible. That probably would have raised the price. They may add one later on, so expect that price to jump up if they do add that Xbox compatibility. But if you want an Xbox compatible joystick right now, it will be best if you grab the Airbus TCA joystick, which is Xbox compatible. You could also just grab the cheaper T-Flight as well from Thrustmaster as well if you want to go a bit lower on the budget. So that's it, guys. As always, let me know what you think. Which joystick would you prefer? Would you prefer neither? Is there another one out there that you like more out of both of these for the same price? I'm really curious to hear your opinion as well. But until next time, remember you have 3 choices: give up, give in, and give it all. You got peace, love, and God bless you. I'll see you guys next time in the next video. We out, baby. Sheesh.